The stars had always been distant lights in Earth's sky, beautiful but unreachable. That changed on a Tuesday morning when 73 alien civilizations announced themselves to humanity, all at once. Captain Hyunwoo Park was drinking coffee on the orbital station when his screens exploded with warnings. Ships appeared from nowhere, materializing in space like ghosts becoming solid. They were massive, some the size of cities, covered in lights and symbols that hurt to look at directly. Hyunwoo dropped his coffee mug. It floated away, forgotten, while he stared at the impossible sight before him. The aliens sent a message in perfect English, Chinese, Spanish, and 50 other human languages. They called themselves the Galactic Concordance. They had been watching Earth for some time now. They knew about humanity's wars, their struggles, their slow climb into space. The message was friendly, almost condescending, like a teacher speaking to a young child. Ambassador Teren led the alien delegation. His species looked almost humanoid, tall and thin with silver skin that seemed to shimmer. He appeared on every screen across Earth, his voice calm and measured. He explained that humanity was still very young, still learning how the universe worked. The Concordance wanted to help. They wanted to guide humanity toward a better future. Commander Ji-won Kim sat in the Seoul headquarters of Earth's diplomatic corps, watching Teren's broadcast with narrowed eyes. Beside her, analyst Tae-young Lee typed furiously on his tablet, pulling up everything they had on the alien ships. Military advisor Bora Choi stood near the window, arms crossed, face unreadable. "This is patronizing," Ji-won said quietly. "Listen to how he speaks. Like we're children who need supervision." Tae-young nodded without looking up. "I'm reading their technical specifications. The data they sent along with the greeting. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, maybe more. Faster than light travel, energy weapons, force fields. We have nothing that could match them." "That's the point," Bora said, her voice hard. "They want us to know how outmatched we are." The formal offer came 3 days later. The Concordance would make Earth a protectorate. They would share some of their technology, allow Earth to trade with other worlds, and protect humanity from hostile forces in the galaxy. In exchange, Earth would give them mining rights to the asteroid belt and several moons. Earth would also agree to follow Concordance laws and accept their guidance in all matters of interstellar relations. President Min Seo-han called an emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. Representatives from every nation gathered in Geneva, filling the Great Hall with anxious voices in 100 languages. The debate lasted for 18 hours. Some wanted to accept immediately. The technology alone would solve countless problems. Hunger, disease, energy crises, all could be addressed with alien knowledge. Others saw the trap hidden in the generous words. Mining rights meant Earth's resources would feed alien empires. Following their laws meant giving up sovereignty. Guidance meant control. Ji-won presented her analysis to the assembly. She had spent days studying every word of the Concordance offer, every clause and condition. "This is in partnership," she said, her voice echoing in the silent hall. "This is colonization with polite language. We would become second-class citizens in our own solar system. Our children would grow up knowing that humans exist to serve more advanced species." Tae-young showed his research next. He had found patterns in the Concordance historical records they had shared. 17 other species had accepted similar protectorate offers in the past 1,000 years. All of them remained protectorates still, never graduating to full membership. None had been allowed to develop their own technology beyond carefully controlled limits. They were permanent children in the Concordance's eyes. The vote was close, but Earth decided. President Min Seo addressed the Concordance with quiet dignity. "We are grateful for your offer and for making contact with us. However, humanity chooses to develop on our own path. We would welcome friendship between equals when we reach that point, but we cannot accept terms that would make us subjects rather than partners." The response was immediate and cold. Ambassador Teren returned, but this time he brought 12 warships. They positioned themselves in a grid around Earth's moon, their weapons visible even to the naked eye. The message was clear without words needing to be spoken. Admiral Sung-ho Kang watched from the military command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. His face showed nothing, but his tactical officer Da-yoon Seo could see his hands gripping the edge of the console. She had served under him for 15 years. She knew what that grip meant. "Can we fight them?" Da-yoon asked quietly. Sung-ho shook his head slowly. "Our missiles would be destroyed before they got close. Our ships are too slow. Their shields would stop anything we could throw at them. This isn't a fight we can win with weapons. Then what do? We think, we plan. We survive. Sung-Ho turned to look at her directly. And we remember that they made a mistake coming here. Terran's ultimatum broadcast on every frequency. Earth had 30 days to reconsider. If humanity continued to refuse, the Concordance would leave and never return. Earth would be isolated, cut off from all galactic trade and technology. No other species would be allowed to contact them. Humanity would remain trapped in their own solar system, watching the stars but never reaching them. For most species, this threat would be devastating. To know that an entire galaxy existed beyond reach, to see proof of wonders that could never be touched would break their spirit. The Concordance had used this tactic before. It always worked. But as the days passed, something unexpected happened. Earth went silent. All communications stopped. The orbital stations powered down their broadcasts. Human ships returned to Earth and landed, their engines going cold. To the Concordance sensors watching from beyond the moon, it looked like humanity had simply given up. Terran reported back to the Concordance Council with satisfaction. They understand now. Within a year, they will accept any terms we offer. Breaking their spirit through isolation is more efficient than war. The Concordance fleet maintained their positions, waiting for humanity's inevitable surrender. But on the dark side of Earth's moon, where alien sensors couldn't see clearly, something was happening. Construction had begun in secret, hidden in the shadows. Strange energy readings flickered and disappeared before they could be analyzed properly. In the Pacific Command Center, Admiral Sung-Ho stood before a massive display showing Earth and all the alien ships surrounding it. President Min Seo stood beside him, along with Jiwon, Taiyang, and Bo-Ra. "How long do we need?" Min Seo asked. 3 years minimum, Sung-Ho replied. "Maybe less if we're lucky." "And they'll just wait up there that whole time?" "Their arrogance will keep them patient. They think we're beaten. They think silence means surrender." Sung-Ho smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. "They're about to learn something about humanity that the galaxy has never seen before." "What's that?" Min Seo asked. "That when we go quiet, it's not because we've given up. It's because we're working." 18 months passed in silence. Earth continued its quiet existence, appearing to the Concordance sensors like a world that had accepted its fate. The orbital stations remained dark. No human ships ventured beyond the moon. Radio broadcasts continued at normal levels, showing that civilization hadn't collapsed. But there was no attempt to contact the waiting alien fleet. Ambassador Terran reviewed the monitoring reports with growing satisfaction. "See, they needed time to accept reality. Soon they will reach out and we will offer them terms again. Less generous terms this time, of course. They need to understand the cost of defiance." But Young Ji-Ryu, a scientist assigned to the monitoring station, noticed things that troubled him. He brought his concerns to Terran's office, carrying a tablet filled with data. "Ambassador, I think we should look more closely at Earth," Young Jae said, displaying graphs and charts. "Their electromagnetic emissions have changed. Not stopped, changed. These patterns here. They're encrypted communications using methods we don't recognize, and there are energy spikes on the far side of their moon, brief but intense." Terran barely glanced at the data. "You're seeing patterns in noise. Humans are primitive. They lack the knowledge to create encryption we couldn't break or energy sources we couldn't identify. You're wasting time looking for threats that don't exist." Young Jae returned to his station unconvinced, but he was only a junior scientist. Nobody listened to junior scientists when ambassadors had already made up their minds. Then the reports started coming in from the frontier worlds. The first was a mining colony on Kepler 442b, a remote planet rich in rare minerals. The colony housed 300 workers and their families. One day, communications simply stopped. When a Concordance security ship arrived 2 weeks later, they found the colony intact but completely empty. Every person had vanished. More disturbing, significant amounts of mining equipment and computer systems were gone too. Not destroyed or damaged, just missing, removed with precision. The security team searched for clues but found nothing. No signs of struggle, no weapon residue, no footprints or biological traces. It was as if the colonists had walked away willingly, taking specific pieces of equipment with them. 3 more colonies vanished the same way over the next 4 months. Then a research station, then a military listening post. Each time the locations were intact but empty. Each time advanced technology was missing. The pattern was clear to anyone paying attention. Someone was raiding Concordance facilities and taking their technology. Captain Haewon Jung of the Concordance Investigation Division studied the pattern obsessively. She was good at her job, known for solving cases others gave up on. But this case made no sense. She created maps showing all the disappearances. They formed a rough circle around a specific region of space, always hitting the most remote targets, always during times when communication networks had natural dead zones. Whoever is doing this understands our systems, she told her team. They know when we can't see them. They know which facilities have what technology. This isn't random raiding. This is organized, planned, and executed with precision we should respect and fear. But respect and fear required accepting an uncomfortable possibility. Someone out there had technology equal to or better than the Concordance. That thought was almost unthinkable. The Concordance had been the dominant power in this region of space for 10,000 years. The answer came 6 months later in the Carina Nebula. Routine patrol detected a ship using a drive signature they had never encountered before. The energy output was minimal, barely registering on their sensors. The ship's design was angular and dark, seeming to absorb sensor beams rather than reflect them. When the patrol moved to intercept, the unknown ship accelerated smoothly and vanished, moving faster than their best vessels could track. Commander Krolix reviewed the sensor logs again and again. He had been in the Concordance military for 40 years. He had seen every known type of ship. This was something new. The computer analyzed the brief scan they had managed and found something that made Krolix's blood run cold. Markings on the hull. Symbols. The computer identified them with 97% certainty. They were human letters and numbers, a designation system used by Earth's old space programs. Krolix sent an urgent message to Concordance Command. The Ghost Raiders are human. Repeat, the Raiders are human. Earth has somehow developed stealth and speed capabilities beyond our current technology. The message caused chaos in the Concordance Council chambers. Emergency sessions were called. Terren was summoned to explain how a species he declared primitive had apparently leapfrogged ahead of Concordance technology. He had no answers, only increasingly desperate denials. Young Jay was pulled from his monitoring station and brought before a council committee. They wanted to know everything he had observed about Earth over the past 2 years. They never stopped developing, Young Jay explained, showing his collected data. We assumed their silence meant surrender, but I think it meant something else. Focus. Every resource, every brilliant mind working on a single problem. What problem? Counselor Vrex asked. He was old even by his species' long-lived standards, and he had learned to listen when young scientists spoke with conviction. How to match us. How to surpass us. Young Jay pulled up more data. Look at this timeline. They had 30 days before we expected their answer. But we gave them something more valuable than time. We gave them a goal, a unified purpose. Before we arrived, Earth was dozens of nations competing with each other. After we threatened them, they became one nation with one objective. That's not possible, another counselor objected. Technology develops over millennia. You cannot simply decide to advance faster. We cannot, Young Jay agreed, but maybe they can. Every species we know reached their technological development at a steady pace. We discovered things gradually, built on them slowly. But what if a species approached technology differently? What if they saw every problem as a puzzle to solve rather than a gradual evolution to follow? Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Director Yoon-Ji Park stood in a command center that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. The room was circular, lined with holographic displays showing real-time information from across the galaxy. 73 Concordance worlds, their defenses, their technologies, their weaknesses. All mapped, all understood. Her team worked in focused silence. Engineer Jae Sung-yoon monitored their fleet status. 47 ships now, each one incorporating technology stolen and improved upon. Analyst So-yeon Kwon tracked Concordance patrol patterns, finding the gaps, the moments of vulnerability. Phase 2 complete, Jae-sung reported without looking up from his screens. We have acquired examples of every major technology system the Concordance uses. Quantum computers, zero-point energy, force field generators faster than light drives. All of it. Analysis? Yoon-ji asked. Their technology is advanced but old, built on principles established thousands of years ago and never questioned. We've found improvements for all of it. Our versions are 30 to 40% more efficient. So-Yan added. Their patrol patterns are predictable. They assume nobody can challenge them, so they've become lazy. Our ships can move freely as long as we avoid the main trade routes. Yunji nodded slowly. She looked at the holographic display of Earth, still surrounded by Concordance warships. Those ships had been there for 2 years now. Their crews bored, their commanders convinced that Earth posed no threat. Begin Phase 3, Yunji said quietly. It's time they understood their mistake. Send a ship to Concordance Prime. No weapons, no threats. Just a message. Let them know that Earth is not afraid anymore. What should the message say? Jae-sung asked. Yunji smiled, and it was the smile of someone holding a winning hand in a poker game. Tell them that humanity requests they remove their blockade. Tell them we consider further military presence in our space to be an act of war. And send them something else. What? Complete specifications for every military system they have. Show them we know everything about their ships, their weapons, their defenses. Show them that we could destroy them if we wished. But we won't. Because we're better than that. The team stared at her in surprise. So-Yan spoke carefully. Director, if we reveal what we know, we lose our advantage. No, Yunji said. We gain something more valuable than advantage. We gain respect. The Concordance threatened us because they thought we were weak. We stayed silent and let them think they had won. Now we show them the truth. Not with violence. Not with threats. With evidence that cannot be denied. We show them that Earth survived their test and emerged stronger. The ship appeared over Concordance Prime on a morning when 3 suns painted the sky in shades of gold and purple. It materialized in orbit without warning, bypassing every detection system, every early warning network, every defensive satellite. One moment the space was empty. The next moment the ship was simply there. Alarms screamed across the planet. Military headquarters went into immediate crisis mode. Defense platforms powered up weapons systems and tried to acquire a target lock. Nothing worked. Every targeting computer failed. Every weapon system locked down. The ship did nothing aggressive, made no threatening moves. It just existed in orbit, dark and silent like a shadow against the stars. The Concordance Council assembled in emergency session. Counselor Vrex looked at the images being transmitted from orbit. The ship was smaller than their warships, but its design was elegant, efficient. It looked fast even while sitting still. What do we know? Vrex asked. Nothing, a military advisor admitted. Our systems cannot scan it properly. Sensor beams are being absorbed or deflected. We cannot target it. Every attempt to lock weapons results in complete system failure. Can we communicate with it? We've tried every frequency. No response, then the ship transmitted. Audio only, no video. A woman's voice speaking perfect Concordance standard without accent or hesitation. The voice was calm, almost friendly, like someone delivering a weather report. This is Captain Seo Moon of the Earth Reconnaissance Fleet. Humanity formally requests that the Galactic Concordance cease all hostile posturing toward Earth space. Your blockade fleet is to withdraw immediately. Further military incursions will be considered acts of war against Earth and will be responded to accordingly. Silence filled the council chamber. Earth? The primitive planet they had blockaded 3 years ago? Impossible, the transmission continued. To demonstrate that this is not an empty threat, we are providing you with complete technical specifications for your military systems. You will find files containing detailed analysis of your weapons, shields, propulsion systems, and defensive networks. You will also find vulnerability assessments and countermeasures we have developed. Data began flooding into Concordance systems, file after file, terabyte after terabyte of information. Engineers across Concordance Prime scrambled to analyze it. What they found made them go pale. Every classified system was detailed perfectly. Weapons specifications marked as highest security. Shield frequency rotations that were supposed to be unbreakable secrets. Propulsion system weaknesses that even Concordance engineers didn't know about. All of it was there, explained in clear language with suggested improvements. Young Jae Ryu was brought to the council chambers to review the data. He worked through it quickly, his face growing more shocked with each file he opened. Finally, he looked up at the assembled counselors. This is authentic, he said quietly. Everything here is accurate. More than accurate. They've found flaws in our technology that we never knew existed. They've proposed solutions that are brilliant in their simplicity, and they're just giving this to us, freely. Why? Counselor Vrex asked. Because they want us to understand. They're not threatening us with violence. They're threatening us with knowledge. This data proves they could have attacked at any time. They could have destroyed our defenses, crippled our fleets. But they chose not to. They're showing us that they have power and wisdom. The power to harm us and the wisdom to choose peace instead. The transmission from Captain Seoa ended with a simple statement: Earth awaits your response. We hope it will be more constructive than your initial approach to us. Captain Moon out, then the ship vanished. No acceleration, no visible departure. It was simply gone as quickly as it had appeared. Tren sat in his quarters, reading the technical files on a tablet, his hands shaking. 3 years ago, he had stood before Earth and spoken to them like children. He had threatened them with isolation and believed it would break them. Now those same humans had infiltrated Concordant space, stolen their technology, improved upon it, and returned to deliver a message impossible to ignore. He had made a terrible mistake. That knowledge sat in his stomach like a stone. The Concordance Council debated for 3 days straight. Some members wanted to attack Earth immediately, to show that the Concordance could not be intimidated. Others pointed out that such an attack would likely fail, given what the humans had just demonstrated. A third group, led by Vrex, advocated for a different approach entirely. We need to understand how this happened, Vrex said during one heated session. A species we catalogued as primitive has somehow achieved in 3 years what took us millennia. This isn't just about military threat. This is about understanding something fundamental about how technology develops. Young Jay was given resources and a team. His task was to answer one question: how did humanity advance so quickly? He started by reviewing everything the Concordance knew about human history. What he found surprised him. Humans had a pattern of rapid advancement when properly motivated. They had gone from first flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years. They had developed nuclear weapons, computers, and global communication networks in less than a century. When humans focused on a problem, they solved it with frightening speed. But that still didn't explain 3 years of advancement. Young Jay dug deeper. He studied human psychology, their learning methods, their approach to problems. He found something the Concordance had missed because it was so alien to their way of thinking. Humans didn't see technology as something to be used. They saw it as something to be understood. When a human encountered a new tool, they didn't just learn to operate it. They took it apart. They studied how it worked. They asked why it worked that way. They wondered if it could work better. Young Jay compiled his findings into a report. He titled it, The Human Advantage, Curiosity as Evolution. Humans don't accept anything at face value, his report explained. When they acquired our technology, they didn't just copy it. They reverse-engineered it to understand the principles. Then they applied those principles in new ways. Each piece of stolen technology taught them not just one thing, but dozens of things. They learned exponentially. He continued, More importantly, humans have something we lost long ago: desperation. We became comfortable. We stopped questioning our technology because it worked well enough. Humans were facing extinction or subjugation. They couldn't afford to be comfortable. They had to improve everything, question everything, perfect everything. The report concluded with a warning. Earth is not simply a military threat. They represent a new paradigm. If we try to contain them through force, we will fail. If we try to compete with them through traditional development, we will lose. Our only option is to accept them as equals and learn from them as they learn from us. Counselor Vrex read the report 3 times. Then he made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. He contacted the Concordance fleet blockading Earth directly, bypassing the standard military chain of command. This is Counselor Vrex with direct orders. All ships are to withdraw from Earth space immediately. Make no aggressive moves. Signal your peaceful intent clearly, then return to Concordance Prime. Sir? The fleet commander responded in confusion. We haven't received authorization to retreat. You have it now from me. If you delay, if you make any move that could be interpreted as hostile, you may start a war we cannot win. Withdraw. Now. The fleet commander knew Vrex's reputation. The old counselor didn't make dramatic statements without reason. He gave the orders. 12 warships powered down their weapons, signaled peaceful withdrawal, and slowly moved away from Earth's moon. They jumped to faster-than-light travel as soon as they cleared the solar system. On Earth, Admiral Sung-Ho Kang watched the alien ships leave. His tactical officer Dayun Seo stood beside him, hardly daring to believe what the sensors showed. They're really leaving, she said softly, without a fight. Without conditions. They're scared, Sung-ho replied. Seoa's demonstration worked perfectly. We showed them we could strike at their heart but chose not to. That's more frightening than any weapon. What happens now? Sung-ho smiled. Now we wait for them to contact us properly, as equals this time. And when they do, we'll show them something even more surprising than our technology. What's that? That we actually want to be friends. We never wanted to be enemies. They forced us to become strong. Now we'll show them what strong friends can accomplish together. 2 days later, a formal message arrived from Concordance Prime. It was addressed to the leaders of Earth and signed by Counselor Vrex personally. The message was simple, an invitation to a summit. Real negotiations. Not patronage but partnership. A chance to start again without the mistakes of first contact. President Jun Seo-an, who had replaced Min Seo-han in recent elections, read the message aloud to the United Earth Assembly. When he finished, silence filled the hall. Then someone started clapping, others joined. Soon the entire assembly was on their feet, applauding not because they had won, but because they had survived and turned enemies into potential allies. Jun Seo looked at Admiral Sung-ho. Do we accept? Absolutely, Sung-ho said. But we bring our best ships to the meeting, just in case. The summit station was built in neutral space exactly halfway between Earth and Concordance Prime. Both sides contributed to its construction, working together for the first time. The station was beautiful, a spinning wheel of metal and light against the darkness, large enough to house hundreds of delegates and their support staff. President Jun Seo-an arrived aboard the Earth flagship, a vessel named Determination. He brought a carefully chosen delegation. Admiral Sung-ho Kang came as military advisor. Chief Scientist Yoon Ah-shin represented Earth's scientific community. Commander Ji-won Kim, now promoted to Secretary of External Affairs, would handle the diplomatic details. The Concordance delegation was equally impressive. Counselor Vrex led them. His age and experience meant to show this was serious business. Young Jae-ryu came as cultural liaison, having spent 3 years studying Earth. Various representatives from major concordant species filled out the delegation. Notably absent was Ambassador Teren. Jun Seo had heard he had been quietly retired, sent to some remote planet to finish out his career far from important decisions. It was the Concordance way of admitting a mistake without saying the words directly. The first meeting took place in a grand conference room with windows showing the stars beyond. Both delegations sat at a circular table, no head position, everyone equal. It was a small detail but an important one. Counselor Vrex spoke first. His translator device rendered his words into perfect English. President An, we are grateful you accepted our invitation. The Concordance wishes to apologize for our initial approach to Earth. We made assumptions based on incomplete information. We offered you terms that were insulting. We threatened you when you refused those terms. We were wrong. The simple admission shocked everyone. Concordant species didn't apologize easily. It went against their self-image as the galaxy's wise elders. Jun Seo nodded gracefully. We accept your apology, Counselor. We also acknowledge that first contact is difficult. You couldn't have known how humanity would respond to pressure. Now you do know. Now we can move forward with better understanding. That is what we hope to achieve, Vrex continued. But first, we need to understand something. How? How did your species advance so quickly? Young Jae has theories, but we need to hear the truth from you. Yuna Shin leaned forward. She was younger than most people at the table, barely 40, but her eyes held fierce intelligence. I can answer that. The truth is, Counselor, you arrived at a unique moment in human history. We were already close to several major breakthroughs when you made contact. Your arrival didn't slow us down. It focused us. She activated a holographic display above the table, showing human technological progression. Before you came, Earth was divided into hundreds of nations. We competed with each other, kept secrets from each other, sometimes fought each other. That competition pushed advancement but also slowed it down. We reinvented the same discoveries multiple times because we wouldn't share information. The display changed, showing Earth after the Concordance arrival. When you threatened us, something changed. Suddenly we had an external enemy. Suddenly our internal differences seemed small. Every nation, every scientist, every engineer, they all started working together. No more secrets. No more competition. Complete cooperation toward one goal. Survival, Rex said quietly. Yes, and more than that. Dignity. We refused to become your subjects, but that meant we had to become your equals. Fast. Yuna's hands moved, and the display showed the dark side of the moon, where construction had happened in secret. We built facilities where your sensors couldn't see. We raided your frontier colonies not for conquest but for education. Every piece of technology we took became a lesson. She pulled up examples. Your faster-than-light drive operates on quantum field manipulation. Beautiful technology. But we noticed it has a 30-second charge time. We asked why. We studied the principles. We found that the charge time was a safety feature, preventing field collapse. But we also found that with better field stabilizers, the safety feature was unnecessary. Our version charges in 4 seconds. Young Jay leaned forward, fascinated. You improved it? We improved all of it, Yuna said simply. Not because we're smarter than you, because we were desperate and you were comfortable. You built your technology over millennia, refining it slowly. We had to understand it completely in 3 years. That forced us to really grasp the fundamental principles. And once you understand principles, improvement becomes possible. Admiral Sung Ho spoke up. But technology alone didn't save us. Psychology did. When your fleet blockaded Earth, you expected us to panic. Most species would have. But humans have been in desperate situations before. It's our natural state, really. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. Being threatened by aliens was just one more problem to solve. You weren't afraid? Rex asked. Of course we were afraid, Sung Ho admitted. But fear is useful. It makes you careful. It makes you creative. And when combined with anger at injustice, fear becomes a powerful motivator. The summit continued for days. Both sides shared information about their cultures, their histories, their hopes for the future. The concordants began to understand that humanity wasn't an anomaly. They were a reminder of what the concordance itself had once been, millennia ago, when they were younger and hungrier. On the 5th day, they began negotiating Earth's entry into the concordance. Junseo was firm on certain points. Earth would join as a full member, not a protectorate. Earth would retain complete sovereignty over its territory. Earth would have voting rights equal to any other member species. Some concordance representatives objected. Earth was still young. They had only been in space for a few generations. Surely they needed guidance before being given full authority. Ji-Won Kim responded with quiet steel in her voice. Counselor, Earth already has technology equal to or better than yours. Earth already demonstrated the ability to strike at your homeworld if we wished. Earth already proved we can survive and thrive without your help. The question isn't whether we need guidance. The question is whether you're ready to treat us as equals. Vrex watched the younger delegates argue and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The concordants had become stagnant. They recycled the same ideas, maintained the same systems, followed the same paths for thousands of years. Earth represented something new, something dynamic. We accept your terms, Vrex said, cutting through the debate. Earth joins the concordance as a full member with complete sovereignty and voting rights. In exchange, we ask for something that may be more valuable than any technology. What's that? Junseo asked. Share your methods. Teach us how you learn. Show us how you maintained that hunger for improvement. The concordance needs that knowledge. We've grown comfortable, and comfort is the death of progress. Yuna smiled. We can do that. In fact, we'd like to propose something. A joint research initiative. Concordance knowledge combined with human methodology. Imagine what we could discover together. We could establish research stations, Young Jay added, getting excited. Places where scientists from all species work together, sharing everything, competing only to see who can make the next breakthrough. No secrets, no classified projects. Pure collaborative advancement. The idea took hold. Over the next 2 days, they planned the future. Not just for Earth and the Concordance, but for all species in the galaxy. The old way of doing things, with senior species patronizing junior ones, would end. The new way would treat all species as equals, regardless of technology level. But there was one more issue to address. Vrex brought it up on the final day of the summit. President An, there's something that troubles many in the Concordance, your military capability. You demonstrated you could strike our homeworld. You could probably destroy significant portions of our fleet before we could respond. That makes people nervous. Junseo looked at Admiral Sung-ho, who nodded and stood. Counselor, may I address this? Please do. Sung-ho activated a display showing Earth's military assets. Ships, weapons, defensive systems. All of it was there in complete detail. This is everything we have. Full transparency. We're showing you our capabilities not to threaten you but to reassure you. Yes, we could strike at Concordance worlds, but we won't. We didn't build this military to conquer. We built it to survive. He continued. Earth's military philosophy is simple. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We build weapons we hope we'll never use. We train for wars we pray will never come. And when given the choice between fighting and talking, we always choose talking first. But you're ready to fight if necessary, Vrex observed. Always, Sung-ho agreed. Because we learned something from history. Species that can't defend themselves don't get to choose their fate. Species that can defend themselves but choose peace anyway, those are the ones that thrive. We want to be the second kind. The summit ended with a formal treaty signing. Earth became the 74th member of the Galactic Concordance. But more than that, the Concordance itself changed. They adopted new protocols for first contact, new methods for welcoming emerging species, new attitudes about cooperation and shared advancement. As Junseo prepared to return to Earth, Vrex approached him privately. President An, I have a question. When my people first came to Earth, when? 5 years passed like water flowing downhill, inevitable and transforming everything it touched. The galaxy that existed after Earth's integration into the Concordance barely resembled the galaxy that came before. The changes started small. A research station here, a joint project there. But small changes have a way of growing when they're planted in fertile ground. The Concordance, stagnant for millennia, suddenly found itself racing to keep up with new ideas, new possibilities, new ways of thinking about old problems. Captain Seo Moon stood at the observation deck of Horizon Station, watching ships come and go. She was different now from the woman who had piloted that first intimidating flight to Concordance Prime. Less a warrior, more a diplomat. The transformation suited her. Today was special. Horizon Station was about to open officially. It was the first joint Earth Concordance research facility, built in neutral space and dedicated to a simple but revolutionary purpose: developing technology to help pre-spaceflight civilizations solve their problems without interfering in their natural development. It's beautiful, isn't it? Young Jae Ryu approached from behind, his footsteps quiet on the deck plating. He had changed too over 5 years. More confident, more comfortable with humans, more willing to question the assumptions he'd grown up with. It really is, Seo agreed. 5 years ago I was sneaking around stealing your technology. Now we're building research stations together. It's strange how fast things can change. Fast by Concordance standards, young Jae said with a smile. You humans have taught us that change doesn't have to take generations. Sometimes it just takes courage. The station's inauguration ceremony was held in the Central Hall, a vast space with transparent walls showing stars in every direction. Representatives from 40 different species attended. Not just Concordance members, but new species that had joined under the reformed protocols. Species that were welcomed as equals instead of being offered patronage. Seoa gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. She kept it simple because complicated words often hid simple truths. 5 years ago, my world faced a choice: submit or stand alone. We chose to stand. But standing alone isn't the same as standing against. We never wanted to be enemies. We wanted to be partners. This station represents what partnership can achieve. Here we'll work together to help others the way we should have been helped ourselves. With respect, with equality, with genuine desire to see them thrive. After the ceremony, Seoa walked through the research wings with Young Jae. Scientists from dozens of species worked together, sharing data openly, celebrating each other's discoveries. In one lab, a team worked on atmospheric scrubbers for polluted planets. In another, they developed clean energy systems simple enough for industrial civilizations to build themselves. A third group studied methods for preventing asteroid impacts without requiring space-based technology. This is what it should have always been, young Jay said softly, all of us working together using our knowledge to help rather than control. Back on Earth in a university lecture hall in Seoul, Taeyang Lee taught his students about first contact protocols. His class was unusual because half the students were human and half were from various concordant species. They learned together, questioned together, sometimes argued together. That was the point. The lesson from Earth's first contact, Taeyang explained to the class, isn't that the concordance was evil or that humans were special. The lesson is simpler. Never assume you understand someone based on limited information. The concordance looked at our technology and assumed they knew everything about us. They were wrong. When you meet someone new, ask questions. Listen to answers. Respect differences. That's how you build relationships instead of creating conflicts. A student from Vrex's species raised a hand. Professor Lee, do you think the concordance would have eventually attacked Earth if we hadn't changed our approach? Taeyang considered the question carefully. I don't know. I hope not. But I do know that the path we were on led nowhere good. Someone had to change direction. We're fortunate that Counselor Vrex had the wisdom to turn the ship before it hit the rocks. On Concordance Prime, Vrex himself sat in his office reviewing reports. At his age, he should have retired years ago. But he couldn't leave, not yet. There was too much work to do, too many reforms still being implemented. A priority message arrived from the frontier. Young Commander Hana Lim was reporting from first contact with a new species, the Kelric. They were just beginning to explore their own solar system, filled with wonder and fear at the universe they were discovering. Hana's report was encouraging. Initial contact followed new protocols perfectly. We introduced ourselves as neighbors, not superiors. Offered information sharing, not patronage. The Kelric are cautious but interested. I've invited their leaders to visit our ship so they can see our technology isn't magic, just science they'll understand in time. Requesting permission to offer technical assistance with their orbital construction project, purely as consultants if they want help. Vrex approved the request immediately. This was how it should work. Meeting new species with respect, offering assistance without strings attached, treating everyone as future equals regardless of current technology levels. He thought about Teren sometimes. The former ambassador lived on a quiet colony world now, tending gardens and writing philosophical treatises about pride and humility. They exchanged messages occasionally. Teren had written recently, I spent 50 years believing I was wise. It took humans 3 years to show me I was just old. There's a difference and I was too proud to see it. 17 new species had joined the Concordance in 5 years, all under the reformed protocols. Each one brought new perspectives, new ideas, new ways of solving problems. The rate of technological advancement across the Concordance had accelerated dramatically. Diseases that had plagued certain species for centuries were suddenly cured through collaborative research. Energy systems became more efficient. Communication technology improved. Even art and music flourished as different cultures shared and influenced each other. But the most important change wasn't technological. It was psychological. Admiral Sung Ho Kang, now retired, sat in his garden in Busan overlooking the ocean. A journalist from a Concordance news service had asked to interview him for a documentary about Earth's integration. The journalist, a being named Trellix who looked like a floating collection of bioluminescent tendrils, asked him a final question. Admiral Kang, many in the Concordance still wonder about Earth's military capabilities. You demonstrated you could strike at our worlds. You could have demanded anything, conquered anyone. Why didn't you? Sung Ho watched waves crash against the shore for a moment before answering. Because conquest would have made us into the thing we hated. The Concordance threatened us, tried to make us subjects. If we had responded by conquering them, we would have become the same kind of bully. Just stronger. We would have won the fight but lost our souls. But you were prepared to fight if necessary. Always, Sung Ho agreed. Preparation and action are different things. We prepared for war while working for peace. That's the balance. You must be strong enough to defend yourself, wise enough to avoid needing to. Strength without wisdom is brutality. Wisdom without strength is vulnerability. Earth learned to have both. Trellix's tendrils glowed brighter, indicating interest. What do you hope for the future? I hope, Sung-Ho said slowly, that 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, someone will discover a new species, and that someone will remember how Earth was treated, how it felt to be threatened and underestimated, and they'll choose to do better. They'll approach that new species with open hands instead of threats. That's what I hope for, that the lesson spreads farther than we can see right now. On Earth's moon, in the facility where humanity's desperate gamble had begun 5 years ago, Director Yoonji Park prepared to shut down operations. The secret construction, the hidden research, the careful planning, none of it was needed anymore. Earth didn't need to hide its capabilities. The galaxy knew what humans could do, and the galaxy had accepted them anyway. Her team gathered for a final meeting. Jae Sung-yoon and So-yeon Kwon were both there, along with dozens of others who had worked in secret for 3 years to save their world. We did good work here, Yoonji said simply. We saved Earth, we changed the galaxy. Now it's time to let this place become something new. The Concordance has proposed turning this facility into a museum, a reminder of what fear and pressure can create, and why it's better to never make another species feel that afraid. Will you stay on as director? So-yeon asked. No, Yoonji smiled. I'm going to teach. Share what we learned. Make sure the next generation understands not just what we did, but why we did it. The tactics and technology were important, but the reasoning was more important. We survived because we refused to let others define us. That's the lesson worth preserving. The final scene took place at a new first contact observed by both Concordance and Earth ships. A species called the Yena had just developed primitive radio. They were sending messages into space hoping someone would hear. Young Jae and Jiwon Kim stood on the bridge of the contact ship, watching the Yena planet on screens. It was green and blue, covered in oceans, and